rights, you get world service, a significant amount of that. You've got a vast range of things. It's not just a television licence. And the BBC licence fee, in real terms, has gone down about 40% in 15 years. What I think we need is two things. One is an immediate increase, significant increase, so we stabilise the situation.
Go on, how much, Roger? What's the fee?
Hold on.
Well, tell me how much.
Then, secondly, hold on, we need to have a proper debate publicly about whether we want public service broadcasting, how we want to deliver it, and how we want to pay for it. The BBC has cut as much as it can. We should now have a public debate about what we want.
OK. All right, the BBC's cut as much as it can. I mean, grief. I would love to try to see the BBC try to operate on the kind of budget.
I thought you were chairman, objective chairman here. It was a head-to-head with this lady, and you were going to be an objective chairman.
Yeah, well, you decided not to answer any of my questions. But anyway, June, I'll put this one to you. Well, what do you think about the money?
Yes.
June, what do you think about the money being paid for the BBC? Should we pay more?
In 2020, you lost 80, let's have a look, 80,000. And then by 2023 to 24, that went up to 500,000 licence fees not being paid. That's because they don't want the product. A lot of the reason is the biased side of the news, which is why people watch GBNews. The programme making, I can understand the creative part of it, but what you've got to look at from the public's point of view is they pay their licence whether they're using all those facilities or not.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Tuesday, July the 15th. Live across the UK, this is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
So is it the end of Turode? An allegation that MasterChef presenter John Turode used racist language has been upheld by a report which was looking into the behaviour of his co-star Greg Wallace. Continued chaos at the BBC.
Punished for British pride. A 12-year-old girl's put in isolation for wearing a Union flag dress to her school's so-called Culture Day. Shadow Secretary of State for Business Andrew Griffith gave his reaction this morning.
You know, if someone turns up in patriotic clothes to their school, they should get a gold star rather than be penalised.
We'll talk about that in just a moment. Green car grants. The government has slashed the cost of new electric cars to push drivers away from petrol and diesel vehicles. But would a £3,750 discount convince you to make the switch?
Continued water woes. Thames Water sunk to a £1.6 billion loss last year as water companies look to hit you with surging prices this summer.
Trans ban lawsuit. Former Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies tells women's sport chiefs ban trans athletes or face court.
He knows the deal. He knows what...
And US President Donald Trump threatens Vladimir Putin. End the war with Ukraine now or within 50 days will face 100% tariffs.
And killer aristocrat Constance Martin and her partner, convicted rapist Mark Gordon, have been found guilty of the manslaughter of their newborn baby in 2023. We'll bring you the details.
Hello, I'm Joe Wicks. Me and my activators are on a mission to get you moving. So are you ready? Activate!
An online animated version of fitness coach Joe Wicks launches in a bid to keep children fit over the summer holidays. Health Secretary Wes Streeting explains why the government-backed project is a good idea.
And look, honestly, if it was government on our own trying to encourage children and young people to get active, I think we'd be the ones falling flat on our face.
The irony, of course, of the Joe Wicks government collaboration is that you're telling kids watch a screen whilst doing exercise.
He did a good job, though, during COVID, Joe Wicks, to keep everybody active.
But then we had to watch a screen. We couldn't go out. I would much prefer if the government was saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to invest in swimming pools, in tennis courts. We're going to make schools enforce exercise on kids, whether they want to do it or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also, what Joe's doing there is, I believe, it's online or on-screen exercises. So you watch him on the telly. I used to do them during COVID. You watch him on the telly and you jump up and down in the living room and you get a little bit fit, bit of exercise. Negates the chockies and the sweets and the biscuits.
Oh, come on. The trouble is, kids watch screens and they don't want to jump around, they just want to sit. There's already so many of those kind of online videos. I think Joe Wicks is brilliant. I do. I think he's fantastic. I love his energy. I love his inspiration. But is that, when the government says we're going to get kids fit and healthy, is that what you want to see?
No, I agree with you. We need more tennis courts, more activities, more provisions for sport. I was saying to you off air, my kids, by my own admission, and I don't care admitting it, they eat quite a lot of sweets and chocolate.
Their teeth will fall out, Ben.
They won't. No.
Their teeth will fall out.
Their teeth are great. No, brush your teeth. Just brush them.
But, sorry, carry on.
But they play a lot of sport and they do a lot of activities. They go swimming in the sea, they play tennis, they do gymnastics, and you wouldn't look at my boys and think, God, they eat unhealthy.
Yeah, it's such a critical issue. It genuinely is, for me, it's the crisis of our time, and it will be the crisis of this population in the next 20, 30 years as well. We've got the first generation now that will die before their parents. Do you know that?
Is that true?
Yeah, kids who are born today are likely to die before their parents because they will be so unhealthy. The parents grow up kind of relatively not having the same obesity issue. Obviously, it's still a problem with our adults in this country as well.
And also, there's so many studies as well, not just that, there's so many studies showing that if you're fat or obese as a child going into adulthood, you are set up to fail in most aspects of life. Your chances of finding a partner or a mate or having children is dramatically reduced. Your chances of having good friendships and relationships is dramatically reduced. Succeeding in work, achieving in monetary, financial goals and so on.
Yep, get your kids out moving. Now, let's talk about, talking of kids, 12-year-old girl was put into isolation for wearing a Union flag dress to her school's Culture Day. This is according to her dad, Stuart Field.
Yeah, no such thing as British culture, apparently. So straight-A student Courtney Wright wore the Spice Girls-esque dress. You can see it on screen there. And she wrote a piece about British history and traditions as part of the celebrations at her school on Friday.
And then the teachers told her the dress was unacceptable. She was taken out of lessons and made to sit in reception until her father had to come from work and pick her up. Right. What has happened here that you can't celebrate British culture? And why does it matter? You know, let me tell you what she said. So she had to write a little speech and she said, I want to talk about my culture and why it's important to me. In Britain, we have lots of traditions, including drinking tea, our love for talking about the weather, and we have the royal family. We have amazing history like kings and queens, castles and writers like Shakespeare. It's also, she said, modern, diverse and always changing with music, fashion and food from all around the world, blending into daily life. And let's not forget fish and chips. This is wonderful because I don't know about you, Ben, but what I find also most remarkable is that her father was able to do this, or she wanted to do this, because on Cultural Day, I can't imagine a scenario in which I could get my children at that age to do that, because they would say, it's not about us, Mummy. It's not about us. It's about everybody else.
So where does that come from? That almost inherent guilt that you can't talk about your own culture. In that speech, the rest of it, she wrote, sometimes at school we only hear about other cultures, which is great because learning about different countries is interesting and important, but it can feel like being British doesn't count as a culture just because it's the majority. I think culture should be for everyone, not just for people from other countries or backgrounds. Being British is still a culture and it matters too. It's part of who I am.
This underpins so many of the important conversations that we have on this channel. It underpins everything about when we talk about free speech, what we can and can't say. It underpins when we talk about legal and also illegal migration and why it matters. Because if you believe that Britishness matters, it means that we can take a stand on watching it be gradually eroded. And I think part of it is that when we talk about Britishness, we don't really know what we mean. It is very difficult. You do descend into cliches about cricket bats on a summer day and scones and tea. And we need to do better at understanding what we mean when we talk about Britishness. So good for Courtney for going out and at least trying with her classmates to get them to think about what that might be.
And also, it's ironic, isn't it? I think Britain is one of the most hospitable, welcoming, inclusive, all the cliche words, diverse countries going. We welcome everybody and anybody to this country. More than any other country, I'd argue. Mm-hmm. And yet we are constantly, especially British people and the country itself, constantly made to feel guilty for our past, colonialism, the British Empire, made to feel like we're racist or not being inclusive, when the truth of the matter is the complete opposite. It's like Britain is a sort of domestic abuse victim. just constantly being gaslit by people who have just have a disdain for our history and who we are.
I never feel guilty about being British, but I...
Made to feel like it.
Well, they can try and make me feel guilty. I never will. But I do struggle sometimes when we talk about migration into this country and the vast numbers that we've seen in very recent times and the massive demographic change in such a short period of time. I struggle to articulate why it matters, and it matters if we think our identity matters. And we have to have more conversations like this. Driving into work this morning, I do this quite a lot, and maybe it's just I'm seeing, but I see more women, this might shock you if you don't live in London, I see more women on my journey into work wearing the hijab than not. So what I mean is I see more women just with the veil, so you can see their face. I saw more women with it than without it. Now, some would say it doesn't matter, it's only a piece of clothing. Maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it is only a piece of clothing, but it certainly isn't a British traditional piece of clothing. And are we getting to the point where we just accept that the majority of women will wear headdresses? No, I don't want that. I don't like it. I find it hard to explain it to my daughters because, particularly when obviously with the hijab and the chador, like all of the extra veils, I have no time for that at all. The burqa.
Do you think we're past the point of no return though to trying to salvage any sense of? I mean, let's talk about London specifically, which I don't feel like is an English city anymore. I mean, white Brits in London are a minority. That's a fact. Do you think that's salvageable?
I think culture, the wheel turns and daughters of will become more westernised, and that's what we do. And maybe we're just in a period of time where this feels quite profound. But I don't know. I'd love to know what you at home think. GBNews.com/your say.
Just before we move on, the one aspect of this we've not discussed is the teachers. David said on your say, those teachers should be ashamed for doing what they've done. They should be removed from teaching children as they're clearly not fit for the job. Not sure if I agree with that latter part, but definitely there is questions to be asked of the teaching profession. Why are they so indoctrinated?
Well, let's tell you, a spokesman for the Stowe Valley Trust has said we are committed to fostering an environment where every pupil feels respected, valued and included. We have since spoken directly with the pupil and her family to listen to their concerns and reflect on how this could have been handled better. We are committed to learning from this experience and ensuring that every student feels recognised and supported when expressing pride in their heritage. Interesting.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. BBC bosses were summoned to Parliament to answer serious questions over their editorial standards. That follows a damning review into a Gaza documentary narrated by the son of a senior Hamas official.
BBC Director-General Tim Davie admitted the corporation failed and vowed to prevent such errors being repeated, which the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, branded a series of catastrophic failures in recent weeks. OK, we're joined by Middle East Affairs analyst Dan Pfefferman. Dan, good morning. What's your take on all this, please?
Yeah, good morning to you. I think it's reflective of a bigger problem that's happening at the BBC and other kind of Western outlets that give far too much credibility, airtime to Hamas. It's a recognized terrorist organization. It's recognized in the UK as a terrorist organization. It launched this invasion of Israel, this terrorist attack. It could have ended it. It didn't have to start it. It could have ended it from the first day. And to glaringly allow the son of a Hamas official who is essentially a terrorist bureaucrat, right, to be the narrator, to accept propaganda as news or some kind of a documentary is reflective of a bigger problem that needs to be addressed.
So the production company were asked in writing by the BBC several times about whether the family had connections with Hamas. And the production company basically did not admit the truth. They have since said that they knew that, which suggests that the BBC were incredibly gullible and didn't take the necessary checks. And when the production company said, oh, no, this isn't propaganda, this doesn't have a Hamas connection, the BBC astonishingly just believed them. How does that happen? Could they do more checks?
I think it's doing the checks is just a Band-Aid on the problem. The deeper problem, there seems to be some kind of deep affinity for Hamas and for other genocidal revisionist terrorist organizations within the BBC culture. And so it's not just about doing the checks and seeing if figure A or figure B is connected to Hamas. There is no free press in Hamas. In Gaza, which is dominated by a dictatorial, radical Islamist entity called Hamas. It is both It is both a terrorist group, it is both a jihadist group, and it is the governing entity, at least it was until recently, of the Gaza Strip. And so it needs to be absolutely clear in the West, and I think far too many people in the West don't understand, there's no such thing as a free objective documentary in the Gaza Strip. There's no such thing as free journalism in the Gaza Strip under Hamas. Nothing will be produced there that is actual objective documentary journalism. Does that mean people don't have the right to create whatever propagandistic documentaries they feel? That's fine, but I don't think the BBC, which is publicly funded, should be the one doing that. And so it's more than just checking to see if Figure Arabic is connected to Hamas. It's understanding the entire culture of the Gaza Strip, and nothing gets produced there without Hamas's absolute approval.
Let me just ask you briefly, while we've got such an expert in Middle East affairs, how do you see the situation now, having had the bombing of Iran and the undermining of the mullahs? Are we looking at the start of potentially a period of peace in the Middle East?
We are absolutely looking at a potential positive period of the Middle East in which the radical axis, led and funded by Iran, has been weakened, but it hasn't been defeated, and that's clear. So you see Hamas's main backer in Tehran has taken a step back. You see Hezbollah's main backer in Tehran, right? And Hezbollah itself has been weakened. Assad is out of the picture. The Iranians themselves, however, are still trying to promote radicalism. They're just a bit on the ropes, if you will. And so this is the time when the moderates of the Middle East, and they are pushing, when the Americans, when your government in the UK and other moderate pro-peace governments need to make a push to get Hamas to capitulate, to surrender. That's really what's at stake here. And so peace can advance forward for the sake of all people, Palestinians, Israelis, Lebanese, and all peoples around the region.
OK. Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate your contributions. Dan Pfefferman, Middle East Affairs Analyst. A BBC spokesperson said on this, during the production process, the independent production company was asked in writing a number of times by the BBC about any potential connections he and his family might have with Hamas. Since transmission, they've acknowledged that they knew the boy's father was a deputy agriculture minister in the Hamas government. They've also acknowledged that they never told the BBC this fact. It was then that the BBC's own failing that we did not uncover that fact and the documentary was aired.
Up next, the government are pushing you to go for an electric car by offering a green grant. We'll have the details.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's pretty unsettled across eastern parts of Europe as we go through this week. Frequent showers bring the risk of some intense thundery downpours. A different story further west though, across Madeira and the Canary Islands. It's dry here on Wednesday, also dry across parts of Portugal and Spain. Meanwhile, further east, Italy will see a few showers, but the showers more frequent, more intense towards the east. And like I said, that brings the risk of some heavy thundery downpours. Through the rest of the week, it's looking largely dry for most.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now imagine this. You spend your entire life dreaming of public service. You work your way up to become the Director of Public Prosecutions. You then become a Member of Parliament, and just next to your constituency is a world-famous museum hosting
I'm imagining it, Tom.
waxworks of famous figures, and you think, you dream that one day you will be featured in this mausoleum, for want of a better word. You become Prime Minister and you think, now, finally, my waxwork will be on display at the world-famous Madame Tussauds. And then they say no.
And then you find out that Theresa May has one.
Oh.
Yes, so Madame Tussauds, there's Theresa May. There she is in her suit.
Yeah,
she was always one for colourful outfits.
Theresa May has a waxwork there, so does Boris Johnson, of course. It's reasonable to expect the Prime Minister would have thought that he would join the likes of David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson with a waxwork.
Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill has one. Harold Macmillan apparently was previously displayed. Tony Blair.
Of course.
Tony Blair, of course. But apparently, so Madame Tussauds can't be sure that he'll still be relevant in 5 years' time. That's the reason.
Is that why they've said it? No.
They can't be sure, so they don't want to put the money into it, presumably.
Wow.
I could imagine Keir Starmer commissioning his own.
And yet, Lord Salisbury had a waxwork, the Marquis of Salisbury, Harold Macmillan, and David Lloyd George, of course. But the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland...
Think about this.
...does not have a waxwork because he's not relevant.
A spokesperson told the Metro, "We have no current plans to make a figure of the British Prime Minister."
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel. That was lucky. You just missed Ben singing. What were you singing?
And I also had a date just about... Sorry, anyway.
What were you singing?
Time to Say Goodbye. Time to say goodbye.
We've only just gone on air. We're here. We're not saying goodbye till midday. Right. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander has announced a new £650 million electric car grant.
Yes, the cost of some new electric cars will soon be reduced by up to £3,750, nearly £4,000. That's to encourage drivers to move away from petrol and diesel vehicles. Would that be enough for you at home to switch to electric, or is the infrastructure just not quite there yet?
Let's talk to friend of the show, climate journalist Donna Hay McCarthy. Donna Hay, good to see you. You couldn't pay me enough money to drive an electric car. I spend half the day looking for my telephone charger. I'm not going to spend the rest of the day looking for somewhere to charge my car. I don't want the inconvenience. I don't want the stress of it. I don't want to think that I'm mining lithium batteries that are being dug in the ground by children over on the other side of the world. Sell it to me, Donna Hay.
So you're willing to have children do the battery for your phone, but not for your car. Actually, let's face what's happening today. The serious issue here today is the problem up to now is that middle class and richer drivers have been able to afford to buy EVs, which are cheaper to run. And what we need to do is ensure poor, lower income drivers have access to this saving as well. And that's what I'm glad about the announcement today, is that the announcement is aimed at lower income drivers. If only cars under £30,000 can benefit from it. The cheapest EV now is around £15,000. So with the grant, you're talking about £11,000 for a driver now to get on the road with an EV, which means that they can benefit from cheaper to run and cleaner cars on our roads, which is good for kids. Britain has one of the highest levels of asthma in Europe. The fact that these cars are cleaner means that will mean our roads, our air is cleaner, and that's better for our kids as well.
Donohoe, you say it's good for kids, but in actual fact, the amount of times I've been walking down the road with my boys and I see, before I hear, an electric car whizzing past, they are almost totally silent, and I'd argue much more worse for road safety than, say, I don't know, one of my favoured gas-guzzling 4x4s.
Well, the issue for safety, of course, is there. And what we need to do with safety is ensure we have LTNs and 20-mile-per-hour zones across all our urban areas. We should be moving away from cars, ideally, in urban areas. I agree with you. That makes our roads safe for kids.
I didn't say that.
Using cars, we need cleaner cars and cheaper to run. And I think this is a good step today to enable poor drivers to access that. The other thing the government has done today, which I think is good for poor drivers, is that it's fine if you've got, 2/3 of drivers can charge at home, But if you don't have a driveway, that's been a problem, and the government is giving grants today to councils to enable to put in gullies for people who don't have driveways to have EV cars as well. I would say the one thing the government isn't doing today, which I think they should do, is they should remove the 20% VAT on poor drivers who don't have driveways. It's outrageous that rich drivers with driveways are paying 5% VAT. Poor drivers who have to charge on the road are paying 20% VAT, and that's not fair. That needs to change.
I like the fact that you've brought in the haves and the have-nots, because that is a massive part of this discussion for me in terms of the cars. I'm just looking at the cheapest EV that you mentioned then, about £15,000. The most expensive, I mean, they go up to hundreds of thousands of pounds if you want to buy a top-of-the-range Tesla or whatever. But your cheap EV has got a range of 100 miles or 85 miles is as far as you're going to get in your cheap EV on a battery, and an expensive car will take you a lot further. That means, surely, Donaghy, the rich can travel to France if they want. The poor might be lucky to get to the supermarket and back.
Well, the new Nissan Leaf, which is at the lower end of the market, and is actually aimed at the lower end of the market, is coming on stream this summer, and that will have a range of 375 miles, which I think addresses the issue you rightly raise. The vast 70% of journeys in Britain are under 5 miles, so a range of 375 miles is, I don't know, 100 times more than the average trip of a car.
We've got to go, unfortunately. Thank you, though, for being with us. Really appreciate it. I love the smell of unleaded petrol too much, so I'll stick with that, I think.
Smell of my childhood.
Yeah, back in a sec.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There's a fresher feel to things out there at the moment, and there's some heavy rain and strong winds to watch out for too. We've already seen some pretty wet weather push across parts of Northern Ireland overnight. That rain is now feeding its way in across parts of Wales, much of England, and also southern Scotland. Now, the highest rainfall totals through today will be across parts of northwest England and also North Wales. We could see 40 to 60 millimetres in some places. Towards the far north of Scotland and also towards the south-southeast of England, staying largely fine. Some decent sunshine perhaps, and temperatures here peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s Celsius, but that is a fair bit fresher than it has been of late. Also need to factor in that there will be some strong winds around. We're talking gusts of around 40 to 50 miles per hour in some exposed coasts towards the southwest, and those strong winds will continue as we go through this evening. For many, it is going to be a blustery and rather unsettled evening. Hefty, showery bursts of rain for most, though the far north of Scotland clinging on to that fine weather. Some late sunshine to look forward to here. As we go overnight, we are going to see the weather system that's bringing the unsettled weather clearing away towards the east, and so things will be turning drier for most of us. Some clear skies developing, but a bit more cloud and a little bit of rain pushing into the far southwest of England across many parts of Cornwall and perhaps into Devon as well. It's not going to be a chilly night. Temperatures for most holding up well into the double figures. Not as warm or as humid though as the nights that we saw through the weekend and last week. Then as we go through Wednesday, a few showery bursts clinging on across some eastern parts. There may be a few more developing as we go through the day as well. But for many, it's actually looking like a relatively dry day. A good deal of fine sunny weather around for most. The exception being in the southwest, still Devon, Cornwall, perhaps into parts of Somerset and Dorset as well. More cloud here and some outbreaks of rain. Temperatures towards the east, though, a few degrees higher than today.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A86 is restricted at Merlagan due to maintenance causing delays. Middlesbrough's A19 northbound has 10-minute congestion delays. A broken down vehicle on Cheshire's A55 westbound near A51 closes a lane, causing 10-minute delays. Hampshire's A31 eastbound between A338 North and M27 has 40-minute delays due to a collision. All lanes on Cambridgeshire's A14 westbound entry slip at J24B are closed but expected to normalise soon. And on the trains, there is disruption between Tottenham Hale and Cheshunt. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
.10 a.m. Tuesday, the 15th of July, live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
Good morning to you. Hope you're well. Punished for British pride. A 12-year-old girl is put in isolation in school for wearing a Union flag dress to her Culture Day in class. Shadow Secretary of State for Business, Andrew Griffith, gave his reaction this morning.
If someone turns up in patriotic clothes to their school, they should get a gold star rather than be penalised.
Water woes. Thames Water sunk to a £1.6 billion loss last year as water companies look set to hit you with surging prices when the weather is warm this summer.
Thames Water's losses go down the plug hole, but what's next? Surge pricing, charging more for filling up your paddling pool when it's hot.
End of Torode. An allegation that MasterChef presenter John Torode used racist language has been upheld by a report which was looking into the behaviour of his co-star Greg Wallace. More chaos over at the BBC.
Well, green cars don't sound like that. Green car grants available from today. The government has cut the cost of new electric cars to push drivers away from petrol and diesel vehicles. They'll give the car manufacturers £3,750 to make them cheaper for you. But do you convince this system would work?
Trans ban lawsuit. Former Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies and friend of the channel tells women's sports chiefs ban trans athletes, biological men, or face court.
He knows the deal. He knows what a fair deal is. If there is such a thing as a fair deal, there's no winners here. This is a loser.
That's American President Donald Trump, of course, threatening Vladimir Putin end the war with Ukraine within 50 days or face 100% tariffs.
Hello, I'm Joe Wicks. Me and my activators are on a mission to get you moving. So are you ready? Activate!
Yes, an online animated version of fitness coach Joe Wicks launches in a bid to keep children fit over the summer holidays. Health Secretary Wes Streeting explains why the government-backed project is a good idea.
And look, honestly, if it was government on our own trying to encourage children and young people to get active, I think we'd be the ones falling flat on our face.
Morning, hope you're well. Thank you for your company. I'm covering Andrew this week.
He's on his holidays.
Yes.
And you're working all hours, Ben Leo. You were on the telly last night till what time?
Midnight.
Midnight.
Went to sleep about 1 in the morning.
That is
Been here for 8 in the morning. Poor me.
Commitment.
No, I'm just grateful to be here. Look, it's easy to complain about stuff like that. I love my job. I love being with you, the viewers. I love being with you, Bev.
No.
I love talking about the news and the country and how great Britain is or how great we can be.
And we've got brilliant topics this morning. I'm sure you're enjoying these subjects as much as we are. We're going to be talking to Christopher Hope in just a minute as well to get a bit more on that Thames Water story, which for me is a blood boiler.
The surge pricing.
Oh, the idea that when the weather is warm and you might stop to think, shall I put the paddling pool on for the kids? You have to, at that moment, stop and think, can I afford to cool my children down in the summer because I'm going to be charged more per unit of water because of the ridiculous smart meter that they've put in my house.
And it will just mean rich people or people with money to burn will have nicer gardens.
Of course it will.
You'll think, can I afford to water the garden this morning?
Hideous.
No, I can't.
Under a Labour government. Let's get into that in just a minute. First, though, your news with Sophia Hill.
Bev, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Today's top story, MasterChef's John Turode has confirmed he's the subject of racist language allegation upheld in a review into his co-host Greg Wallace's behaviour. Turode says he has no recollection of the 2018 or 2019 incident, but is shocked and saddened and insists he would never intend to offend. The review upheld 45 allegations against Wallace, mostly involving inappropriate sexual language and behaviour dating back to 2005. Wallace, who's now stepped down, says he was diagnosed with autism and regrets if his behaviour missed the mark. Banerjee and the BBC say Wallace's return to MasterChef is untenable. Thames Water has plunged into a £1.6 billion loss, while its debt has ballooned to almost £17 billion. It comes as pollution incidents leapt 34% and regulators have hit the firm with a record £122 million fine and rising penalties. The crisis-hit supplier, serving 16 million people, is still hunting for a rescue deal after investors ditched Lifeline. Executives face a grilling by MPs tomorrow over the bonuses and the threat of nationalisation as its finances continue to creak. Rachel Reeves will tonight unveil what the Treasury is calling the biggest shake-up of financial regulation in a decade. In her Mansion House speech, the Chancellor will promise sweeping reforms to boost home ownership and attract global investment. Key changes include more high-to-low income mortgages, looser salary requirements and a permanent mortgage guarantee scheme. Up to 46,000 extra first-time buyers a year could benefit under the plans. Reeves says she's building a Britain that is better off, with financial services at the heart of the growth. And turning stateside, Donald Trump says he's disappointed in Vladimir Putin, but insists he's not done with the Russian leader. In an interview, the US president claimed a Ukraine peace deal was close 4 times, only for Putin to launch fresh attacks, including on a nursing home. Asked how he'd stop the bloodshed, Trump said, "We're working on it." The comments came just hours after he imposed fresh sanctions on buyers of Russian exports. He's also pledged new weapons for Ukraine. The cost of some new electric cars will drop by up to £3,750 as the government reintroduces grants to boost EV sales. Discounts will apply to models under £37,000, with car makers able to apply from Wednesday. The scheme will run for 3 years, but critics warn that a lack of public charging points still puts buyers off. The government's aiming for 300,000 chargers and a full petrol and diesel ban by 2030. And the 2 men behind what's being described as the moronic mission to destroy the Sycamore Gap will be sentenced on today. Daniel Graham and Adam Carruthers were found guilty of criminal damage to the 150-year-old landmark and nearby Hadrian's Wall. The tree's destruction caused outrage across the UK and beyond, having featured in the film Robin Hood, Prince of the Thieves. Both men now face up to 10 years in jail and have since turned on each other whilst in court. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour, but now it's back to Bev and Ben.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Thank you. Wonderful, Sophia Hill there. Right, let's see what you've been saying this morning. Adrian says Putin is taking no notice at all of Trump. I mean, that's clear, isn't it? And you can tell that Donald Trump is actually quite disappointed when he said he was going to get into the White House and would solve all these world wars within a matter of hours. He's finding it very difficult in terms of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. John says, we pay £800 water bill a year. We don't have a meter, so my grandchildren will keep having our big garden as a water park in the school summer holidays with a slip and slide paddling pool, and sometimes we hire a big bouncy castle and they can use the hose to squirt themselves on it. I'm not going to change for nothing, whilst immigrants and 1.5 million illegal immigrants that have disappeared into this country don't pay any water bill.
True.
You're right, John.
What do they pay? They don't pay anything.
Well, who knows?
Water bill.
Do you have a water meter?
We do. I remember the days, though, of the rateable value system where you had no meter and you could, not that you would intentionally, but leave the tap on and you'd be charged the same amount. Eddie, good morning. You've said, good morning, Ben and Bev. I bet the school in which the little girl attended with the Union flag dress would have loved it if pupils had turned up with other countries' flags or trans flags. I think you're right. It's really upsetting. We should be supporting children of who we are as a country. Yeah. It makes my blood boil. How times have changed.
We're going to be talking about this Thames Water story with Christopher Hope in just a moment. Carol has said, I don't think shareholders should be funding public utilities and expect a profit handout. There should be in public ownership for everyone and the same price wherever you live.
And Rosa, good morning. You said, Bev and Ben, now that the French courts have ruled that all Gazans can claim refugee status in France, we can now expect the same here in Britain. I think that would be pretty dangerous, to say the least.
Thames Water can afford to have lovely flags outside, says Nikki. Lee, talking about America, says Trump is naive regarding world affairs.
Do you think he is? You're about to head over there. What's your take?
I don't think he's naive, but I think he probably, for some reason, underestimated quite how difficult that Russia-Ukraine crisis was going to be to resolve. He did brilliantly with India, Pakistan, remember. I do think what will turn out, as I asked our guest earlier, I do think we're about to see a period of peace in the Middle East, enabled partly, in some way, perhaps, by Donald Trump and possibly his association with Netanyahu. But I think it would be an enormous success if he can sort out, clearly, if he can sort out Russia, Ukraine.
Well, he did say, what was the claim? Within 24 hours, was it, upon election?
Yeah. Darryl says, I'll be keeping my diesel car until it wears out, carrying out servicing and expect it will be at around in another 10 years. Less energy wasted than making new electric cars. I won't be able to afford another car then.
I just love, same with vinyl and CDs. I caught the tail end of the vinyl era. It's putting your key in the car, the engine roaring up, the vibration, the smell. I said before, I sound like a bit of a weirdo, but my favourite smell is the smell of unleaded petrol.
Me too.
At petrol stations. You know, electric cars, fine, they're quick, maybe they look a bit sleek. Questions about the range, but they're just boring, aren't they? Come on, they're boring.
Do you think they are? GBNews.com/your say, get in touch with us this morning. So this crisis at Thames Water has deepened significantly this morning. Their debt burden has soared by another £1.6 billion.
Yeah, what's going on over there? Well, while it's still trying to avoid full nationalisation, the company's now admitted that some form of temporary nationalisation may be necessary as it scrambles to restructure its finances.
The company had already warned it would have run out of money within a year if no funding deal was reached. Let's talk to Christopher Hope now. I was going to say this story's been a bit drip, Chris.
Not funny, though, is it?
No, it's not funny. And I think it really enrages people that something as necessary as water, that we literally cannot live without, has been monetised in this way and then handled so appallingly.
Yes, this is privatised by the Conservatives, and it's one area, I think, where privatisation hasn't seemed to work, because you can't really compete with a rival operator. You're simply a sitting duck for these companies. £1.6 billion lost last year from £157 million profit the previous year, a soaring debt burden, more than a discharge a day, 470 sewage discharges into our rivers, up from 350. No bonus for Chris Weston, the CEO, tiny violins, in fact, 0 violins for him, frankly. He doesn't deserve a bonus given what's going on here. Hosepipe bands in Gloucester, Oxfordshire, Berkshire and Wiltshire. It is really, really difficult to understand. A lot of the times, these other companies, they've removed profits, taken off to overseas companies that own them. Low interest rates mean they're borrowed heavily, and now the interest rates are rising. They've got this soaring debt burden. And the latest insult, I think, for customers is surge pricing, which means that if you fill up a small paddling pool for young children in a small garden in the summer, you'll be pay more for surge. If it's a similar way, if you book a flight on a budget airline, you pay more at peak times.
Well, I wasn't aware, Bev. You told this. We spoke about this for the first time yesterday. To me, I was not aware of this, but apparently it's active now. Clive on Your Say has said, "Good morning, guys. Here in Mid-Suffolk, we've recently had a smart water meter installed, replacing the old meters, so the new surge pricing structure applies." So it's going on now. The whole concept to me is
around
insane.
60% of us have water meters. The balance have what's called rateable value, as you say. So you get charged a set rate for your water usage per year, and you can turn the tap on, fill the paddling pool. You're not really incentivised to cut your usage. And I would argue the bigger, older houses with bigger gardens, more comfortable people living there possibly, won't be paying the surge pricing. It's going to hit those on lower incomes, smaller houses, smaller properties.
And you can, of course, say you don't want to have a smart meter on your water in your house. You can say about anything. I said that to Thames Water, and then during lockdown, when everyone was locked in their houses, they put one on the front of my house without my permission.
Where were you?
I was in the house.
She was breaking lockdown rules.
I had all the neighbours round. No, I was in the house, and it's just on the other side of the driveway. That's my house.
It's there.
It's on the pavement. I said, I don't want it. And then they put a letter, they knocked on my door, gave me a leaflet, we've given you a smart meter. I said, I didn't want one. I don't want it. I do not give you permission to turn it on. He went, oh, we're not going to turn it on, but we're putting them on the road anyway, so we thought we'd just give you one. So, of course, now I'm on a smart meter, and I hate it. There are more and more people, you know, now not even paying their water bills, because it's not like gas and electricity, where you
can't turn it off.
They can't turn it off. There are more people who are just saying, I'm sick of it, I'm not paying you anymore.
I think they help people, women, men, everyone on their own, but big families benefit from rateable value probably, so if you can weigh it off.
Chopper, do you know how British water bills compare to the rest of, say, Europe?
I don't, Ben, do you?
No, I don't.
I thought that was leading into
That was a bit mean. Just run that on it.
That was a Ben fact.
No, sorry.
I do know, though, that the chair, Adrian Montague, CEO Chris Weston, they're in front of MPs right now, so we'll bring you updates of what they're saying to MPs in the next hour.
Keir Starmer must have known this was potentially going to be in his inbox when he became Prime Minister, that he'd have to have some sort of solution for this problem. As I say, it has been...
I mean, nationalisation seems the obvious solution, or even a partial one. It's being mooted. We see it in the rail sector. I think in areas, privatisation hasn't worked, and this is one, along with the rail network.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear from you at home, gbnews.com/your-say, to let us know what you make of this. Would you... what would happen, I wonder, if the whole country just stopped... I'm not encouraging this, but if everyone just stopped paying their water bills? What would happen? The government would have to step in.
Legally, I don't think they can turn off the water to your property because it's obviously a vital life source. So,
not encouraging such anarchic behaviour, obviously.
A very quick Google suggests that Denmark has the highest water bills in Europe, followed by Norway, which is bizarre, really, considering they're in...
Fjords, yeah.
And the UK is in the middle of the ranking with an average price of around £3.5 million per cubic.
I mean, essentially, this goes back to when they privatised, briefly, when they privatised the water industry, they said they would keep bills down, so they did that, and they didn't spend money in investment, and now they're reversing that.
Thanks, Chris. Right, moving on, time for our competition, an incredible tax-free £54,321. So here's all the details.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right, good luck with that. You could pay your water bills or lecky bills with that money, so very good luck. Up next, Tory MP Suella Braverman slams the decision of a school to put a 12-year-old girl into isolation for daring to wear a union flag dress. She's called it a shameful indictment of the free speech crisis and the capture of our schools by a leftist DEI agenda that hates Britain. Not mincing her words, eh?
Tell us what you really think, Suella. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't go anywhere.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Vegetarians now have a greater desire to wield power more than their meat-eating counterparts. I mean, you like a sausage, don't you, Biggins?
I like a sausage, but I have gone off meat per se, funnily enough, as I'm getting older. I think there are, you know, it takes a lot of eating a piece of meat, if you pardon the expression.
And the older you get, the more you find that it takes a lot of meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I must admit, I have more of a conscience about eating meat as I get older.
Yeah.
And that's a fondness of animals brings that. And if you ever go on Instagram and you look at cows and horses and pigs,
they're wonderful
they're all
things.
affectionate
I
and
know,
incredible.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there we are, putting it into our mouths and eating it.
What do you think about the move to enforce vegetarianism on people, though? Because especially in schools and some universities, there's this trend for Meat-Free Monday, where there's this enforced absence of meat on children.
I think it's ridiculous. Let kids do what they want, to be honest. Within reason, obviously, a healthy diet, da-da-da-da-da. But no, I think, you know, I don't eat meat. The husband eats meat. It's not an issue. Eat what you want. But I think the fact that they're trying to force this into schools, look, let kids experiment. Give them a vegetarian option.
Yes,
Let them
I know
see
schools do that.
Just options.
It has just become political. And also, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I know children are often told that eating meat is terrible for the environment, but importing avocados thousands of miles is also terrible for the environment.
But also, I mean, a lot of vegetarian meals, certainly processed vegetarian meals, have got a load of salt and fat and sugar in them. So they're actually worse for you than eating a lean piece of meat.
I think the tide is turning now, because the new trend amongst young people, particularly young men, is protein. Chicken, breasts, tuna. That's the new trend, to get as much protein in them as possible. It's very difficult to do when you're vegetarian.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We are joined in the studio by Jadisa Da Silva to go through the stories. We've also got I never get that right. Annunziata, thank you, Rees-Mogg, on her way here, but no doubt she's trying to get across broken London, and it's proving very difficult.
Maybe she's in an electric vehicle and the range has run out.
But she will be here soon. But Jadisa, it's always brilliant to see you. Let's talk about this story, shall we, about sex education in schools for the under-9s. What changes might we see?
So Labour previously had this ban where the Tories had implemented saying that you can't teach under 9 sex ed, and now they're going to roll back the legislature where they were going to previously ban that, saying you could. And they're saying now it's going to be left up to the decision of the schools whether they want to do those lessons, but they would prefer, if that didn't happen, that you could teach them when they were younger. And with this one, I'm kind of torn because I do have the feeling that just because there are a lot of contentious issues socially with adults, don't impose those on children. When it comes to this particular age group, under 9s up to 11, 12, 13, they are children and they have a level of resilience where they're open to understanding different kinds of people. If you think to just years back, where the idea of having 2 mums or 2 dads was a big deal, now it's very common where my friend Lucy or Jamie has 2 mums or 2 dads. Socially, they will evolve to understand as long as you put them in an environment which is inclusive. But then at the same time, the world is changing. They use social media. You have very, very loud voices that speak about topics that they're not equipped to understand. So then you do need the intervention of educational facilities to say, this is what this means. Yeah. But then I think, too, the way sex education was done when I was in school, first, when you're around 11, it's just the science of the sperm fertilizes the egg. That's that. Then as girls, I was in an all-girls school, as you get older, they then changed it to understanding, oh, they're getting boyfriends, this is what sex is about. Then when you get to 15, oh, how you use contraception and so on. But I remember that when we first had sex ed, we had a doctor come in, a paediatrician, and she talked about labour. And it's embarrassing now, but I had an argument with her saying, no, my mum said I came out of her tummy and Jesus put me there. And my whole class was cringing. But I credit that doctor because all she said is, your mum is probably right. You probably came by cesarean section. Yeah. And she left it there. Then they spoke to my mum and my mum had the conversation. They gave the agency back to my mum to give me what I lacked in understanding.
But Janita, you mentioned there about children being exposed at an earlier age to stuff on social media now, so that's a need for intervention from the school. I mean, as a parent, I don't want the school intervening. It's down to parents to intervene to make sure those children aren't accessing that material on social media, no? Quite frankly, I don't want strangers talking to my kids about sex.
That's the point I made about that wonderful doctor setting things up for my mum to be the one to have the conversation. But the school had to understand that because they were the ones who identified that there's a kid in our class who doesn't know about this stuff. We need to go back to the mother. So you have to have those lessons set up to identify where there are deficiencies in the children's understanding.
The issue, of course, with children is making sure that they understand what is OK and what is not OK about who can touch their body where. And that is why I would always want children to have some level of sex education under 9.
But that's why I say, I give so much credit to parents because you are juggling a landscape that is so precarious now because of that thing called social media. Yeah. Because you could have your children in the safety of your home as long as they have a phone or a laptop, they are open to anything. So where do you find out where those fracture lines are? It will be at school because there are things they will not explore at home with you that they will with their friends. And so you need these classes to be there so they can begin to see, oh, your son needs a talking to, but give it back to the parents.
Do you think it should be a specialist? Because my feeling is that if you are normally the maths teacher and then on a Wednesday morning you have a talk about penises and vaginas, not only are the children going to be laughing so much they're not going to listen to a word you say, but I wonder whether that teacher has the skill set and the language and, frankly, the confidence to talk about that topic.
Oh, I completely agree that it should not be teachers. We had the sperm and the egg was the science teacher who taught us biology.
Miss Morris, you never forget. You never forget.
Mr. Gregory, I remember.
Yeah.
And then when it came to everything else, they brought in doctors and paediatricians, and they stepped back. But then they will complain about who's going to fund that. Well, you ought to be funding that. And I agree that there should be legislation about social media. When you get to school, there shouldn't be phones. I'm very kind of dogmatic in that respect, where school is school and it's education, and give license to parents to be parents, give space to children to be children, and give agency to teachers to be able to do their job freely.
And make sure the parents can see the content. I would say if you are a parent, you should be allowed to say to the school, can I just have a look at how you're going to handle this? Not necessarily so that you can say, I don't agree with you, but so you can then consolidate at home if you're using the same sort of language around body parts or whatever it is. I think we're going to bring Annunciata in here. What time do you call this? If I'm going to be teacher. She's coming into the studio now. Welcome to Broken Britain.
Good morning.
Good morning. Difficult morning.
Families are always difficult.
They are, and it's summer holidays. You could segue nicely into our conversation about sex education in schools and whether it should be the under-9s.
Well, I am one of those nightmare mothers who, when the school sent me a letter saying, in the next 3 days, we have a compulsory from the government and council consultation with parents on sex education, I made sure I could turn up.
A compulsory consultation with the parents, so not a compulsory lesson for the children?
No, the parents had to be consulted on how it was going to be taught. And I turned up, and I have to say, in Lincolnshire, there was nothing I could disagree with.
And so what did they...
I was very reassured.
And what was their topics? Was it about privacy, about who can touch your body and the important stuff for the under-9s?
Those kind of things came into it, but the main thrust was who produces babies.
Right.
And how they come here.
Really? And you were reassured by that?
I was, and I was very surprised. I was expecting to be quite cross.
Yeah.
And I think many parents would be worried about where it's going at the moment. And I was very reassured.
Well, that's good to know.
How old are your children?
5 and 7, those two. At the time, they were 4 and 6.
Oh, wow. So little. Some people would be watching this saying, but why at 4 and 6 do they need to know such things?
And that was the point. They went through year by year. Every single year, what will they be taught? And it was all very age appropriate.
So have your children since had a sex ed lesson?
No, because that isn't... what reassured me was that wasn't really part of it. You learnt that children come from human beings in a very biological way.
Right, OK.
But not more than that.
Interesting. Talking of children and schools, should we touch on this story this morning about Courtney, the young girl who went to Culture Day? Courtney Wright, and she dressed in a Union Jack dress and hat. And Annunciata, let's come to you because you've only just come in here. And then was told that this was not appropriate.
And she wrote the most...
Lovely.
Wonderful article about our country, about why our culture matters. She was very inclusive.
Yeah.
It's great to learn about other cultures, but why can't we celebrate ours?
And she got put in isolation, and Dad had to come from work to pick her up because they thought that it was what is your speculation, Juditha? They thought that she was being deliberately provocative.
I mean, well, I'm really baffled. With stories like this, I think that there's a lot more to the story I don't know, because it kind of shocked me, because her showing up in a Union Jack dress, you're celebrating culture. She's British in Britain wearing the British flag. That would make me chuckle. And I was a child when Jerry Halliwell became iconic because of the Union Jack dress. It's ended up in a museum exhibit. So what triggered that kind of reaction to a child? Within the environment in school, if they're saying the school is very inclusive, children are not like us. Don't put our apprehensions on children. She has diverse friends, most likely. So if they're going to celebrate one culture, they will learn from her about Britain. I just feel there's something to this story we haven't been told.
Well, the schools apologised.
For the children to have that kind of reaction.
I don't think there's any more to it. The schools apologised, and I think the answer to your question, Juditha, I'd argue, is institutional-wide in the education establishment, from probably nurseries, in some cases, being indoctrinated with all sorts of nonsense, up to universities and beyond, institutional radical leftism. You know, our country has been infiltrated with this kind of thinking where we're being made to feel guilty for our past, for our achievements, for the British Empire, for everything. And that's what's going on. Teachers.
I think it's kind of... There's blame on both parts, because while one condemns the far left is reactionary to the far right is reactionary to the far left.
The Union Jack dress isn't far right.
No, I've just said that I don't understand what the issue is with that dress, full stop. But I think that, again, it's the imposition of issues adults are having onto children's spaces, and that should not be happening. If something had arisen that was contentious, you're a school. Teach them and guide them through it. So let the problem that you're fearful of present itself first before you start doing preventative measures.
It should never be a problem to represent your own culture, your own country. And personally, I'm incredibly proud of what our country is, where we've been, where we've got to. I think we need to do better. I remember I was 18 when it was Cool Britannia. We were allowed to celebrate Jerry Halliwell in her Union Jack dress. It was pop culture, but it was everything about being British. We were allowed to celebrate that under a Labour government, bizarrely.
Yeah, but over years, going to the point we're making about when you have this very polarised environment we're in now, what you've learned over the years is whereas your articulation of a pride in Britain is done in a way that's very understanding, it's kind, it's pleasant. There are many who talk about Britain in a way that's triggering to others. Because when you look at the idea of when you look at the idea of British Empire, you have to concede the fact that empire is built on a lot of pain and persecution. So how some receive empire is very different.
I am not ashamed of the fact
you
that
might be very proud of a colonialist-built empire,
gave
great.
civilization
but to
other countries.
Yeah, but to others who live in this country, who help to build it and make it prosperous,
if they're
the idea
ashamed
of
it,
empire
maybe
is very
this isn't
painful.
the country for them, because
how can it not be the country for them when you
foundation.
use them to build the country and make it great? That is a very myopic and very offensive stance to take, because when you use people to make your greatness and then say that the complaints
That's exactly
exist...
why that girl couldn't wear a Union Jack. Because
we
people
keep circling
tell her
back to
it's
the point
offensive.
that I agree that girl should not have had issues that lie elsewhere imposed on her own freedoms because she was not doing anything cruel or anything
provocative. You should be
provocative.
allowed to be proud of your own culture.
Yes.
In the last few weeks, I have spent every single weekend at a different village fete or town fair, school fair, where we have celebrated. We've had Morris men, we've had all the old-fashioned things that we have always had. And that is part of this country.
You're being too simplistic.
And we should be allowed to celebrate them.
You're being too simplistic about a very complicated issue. When you're talking about pride, absolutely everyone should be proud of where they come from, but everyone should be reticent of mistakes that have been made. That is all I'm saying. Be proud of your country, but know that when they did something wrong, it was wrong to have done those things.
To be reticent about than we do.
And the same rule applies to them as well. The same rule
but they don't show it.
I hate to interrupt this because I love to see two formidable women taking on such an important issue. But we do have to go to the news with Sophia Hill, but you'll be back in the next hour. Don't go anywhere. Here's Sophia.
Good morning. The headlines just after 10:30. The BBC is facing a storm of controversy with MasterChef presenter John Turode now part of an inquiry over allegations of racist language. Turode denied the claims, stating, "I do not believe that it happened." Meanwhile, Ofcom has announced an investigation into the BBC's controversial Gaza documentary, accusing it of breaching accuracy guidelines. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is betting on bankers and aims to boost stock market growth with a major overhaul of regulations. First-time home buyers will also benefit, with new mortgage options on the horizon potentially adding 36,000 new loans. But it's not all good news. There's a stark warning on mortgage rates as the economy stumbles, with public debt hitting a record 96.4% of GDP. Fears are rising of a return to Bank of England support. President Donald Trump has warned Russia of severe tariffs if it doesn't end the war in Ukraine, following a major weapons deal with NATO. And 2 men will be sentenced today for felling the iconic Sycamore Gap tree, causing over £600,000 worth of damage. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Sophia. Up next, the government wants to make movement, exercise, getting fit, fun for children. Surely, though, I argue, and maybe you'd agree at home, that's the job of parents, no?
And schools, I would say.
Schools as well?
Yeah.
Yes, great point. I remember doing PE. I loved PE. We did it once every fortnight at school. A disgrace. I'd do it every day if I could.
Yeah, should be every day. Right, don't go anywhere. Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Bev and Ben back in a minute.
Good morning. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There's a fresher feel to things out there at the moment, and there's some heavy rain and strong winds to watch out for too. We've already seen some pretty wet weather push across parts of Northern Ireland overnight. That rain is now feeding its way in across parts of Wales, much of England, and also southern Scotland. Now, the highest rainfall totals through today will be across parts of northwest England and also North Wales. We could see 40 to 60 millimetres in some places. Towards the far north of Scotland and also towards the south-southeast of England, staying largely fine. Some decent sunshine perhaps, and temperatures here peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s Celsius, but that is a fair bit fresher than it has been of late. Also need to factor in that there will be some strong winds around. We're talking gusts of around 40 to 50 miles per hour in some exposed coasts towards the southwest, and those strong winds will continue as we go through this evening. For many, it is going to be a blustery and rather unsettled evening. Hefty, showery bursts of rain for most, though the far north of Scotland clinging on to that fine weather. Some late sunshine to look forward to here. As we go overnight, we are going to see the weather system that's bringing the unsettled weather clearing away towards the east, and so things will be turning drier for most of us. Some clear skies developing, but a bit more cloud and a little bit of rain pushing into the far southwest of England across many parts of Cornwall and perhaps into Devon as well. It's not going to be a chilly night. Temperatures for most holding up well into the double figures. Not as warm or as humid though as the nights that we saw through the weekend and last week. Then as we go through Wednesday, a few showery bursts clinging on across some eastern parts. There may be a few more developing as we go through the day as well. But for many, it's actually looking like a relatively dry day. A good deal of fine sunny weather around for most. The exception being in the southwest, still Devon, Cornwall, perhaps into parts of Somerset and Dorset as well. More cloud here and some outbreaks of rain. Temperatures towards the east, though, a few degrees higher than today.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users are advised that the A86 at Merligan is restricted to westbound traffic due to planned roadworks. In Hampshire, an eastbound collision on the A31 between the junctions with the A338 North and the M27 is causing lane closures and delays of 20 minutes. The M4 eastbound at junction 40 in Taibach has roadworks with off-slip and on-slip closed between 7 and 11 tonight. And on the trains, disruptions affect Great Western Railway between Exeter St David's and Barnstaple, and Greater Anglia services between Tottenham Hale and Cheshunt. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Right, we're over in the sofa area because basically what we're creating here is a family on summer holiday when all the kids are just sat on the sofa and nobody wants to do anything.
Shut up, Mum.
Yeah, don't call me Mum. It's quite triggering with our age difference, to be fair. But we're sat on the sofas and then you've got to get your kids moving, right? So what the government are going to do is basically the government. Why am I even talking about the government and Joe Wicks in the same sentence?
They are the same entity.
But they shouldn't be, and I'm a bit confused about this. So the government want to get kids fit, obviously, because these kids are all going to die because they're all fat and unhealthy and got fatty livers at 8 years old. So they've collaborated with Joe Wicks, who you love, don't you?
I like Joe Wicks. I think he's a good guy. He's got a good heart. Interesting story. He had a troubled childhood, and I think he's done really well. So he's doing this. There it is on screen now.
Right.
So he's doing this animated series with help from the government. I assume he's getting paid for it. And it's to encourage children to be active, to move, to stay fit. Similar to what he did, I guess, during the COVID years, some years ago.
You see, there are already TV programmes like this on lots of children's channels, on Nickelodeon and CBeebies and all that kind of thing. So I'm just not sure how this is going to be any different. I don't like his beard. His beard is very weird, his animated beard. If you're listening on the radio, then you're missing Joe Wicks and some little animated characters, little red things, pink things, and they're doing squats. So come on, Ben. We have to do the squat, so we're going to basically be like a couple of teenagers who've been children.
Look at me. Almost there. You're doing so well. Keep going.
So the idea is that you'll get your kids up doing this. What I think will happen, there'll be mums and dads in the lounge doing this, and the kids will be sat on the sofas going, "What are you doing? You're so embarrassing." And frankly, right now, they might have a point. Boom. If you're listening on the radio, oh look. There's a little emoji doing squats and breaking wind, so let's not do that. Okay, now we're to the star jump. I haven't got a sports bra on. No one's told me I was going to do this. And also, I wouldn't recommend you do it in high heels either. So this is the idea that we're going to be jumping around in your lounge. Would your kids do this? Would your boys do this?
Yeah, Jude, my boy, does. Yeah, he likes Joe Wicks videos on YouTube.
And he would do this in the front room watching. Oh, why doesn't he just do a Joe Wicks video? Why do you have to do this?
It's quite fun.
Sorry. People pay good money for this. Can I sit down? I'm quite exhausted.
Should we take a listen to what the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, thinks of this idea? He's quite keen. Let's take a listen.
Honestly, if it was government on our own trying to encourage children and young people to get active, I think we'd be the ones falling flat on our face. Partnering up with brilliant, exciting, dynamic creators to bring to life fitness in a really fun, interactive, accessible way for children and young people, meeting them where they are, which is often online now. I think that's a much better way of getting children and young people active.
Right, we've composed ourselves now.
That was all right, wasn't it? It looks all right.
I think that was entirely humiliating, and if my children are watching at home, they'll be appalled. But joining us now is blogger, geriatric mum Lucy Baker. Morning, Lucy. So, is this the way to get kids moving in the summer holidays?
I have to say I enjoyed watching you two jumping about then. That was good.
Who did the best squats, Lucy?
Yeah,
that's the important question.
Oh, who did? You're asking me?
Yeah.
It's got to be Bev.
Oh, Lucy.
In high heels. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, I've got lots of feelings around this one, I have to say. And I think your point, Ben, about Joe Wicks being brilliant during lockdown, he did a brilliant job to get everybody united. This was families, behind closed doors, everyone was jumping about to Joe Wicks. I'm questioning whether the cartoon characters are actually going to whether they're going to appeal to children. I've got 3 children, so I've got a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. I can't see my 15-year-old doing it. My 12-year-old possibly, my 6-year-old definitely would. I think that the bigger question here, the bigger conversation is what you said earlier, Bev, actually. Why are we relying on the government to make our kids healthy? How much money does this cost? I think it's a quite important question.
Yeah.
Aside from that, schools, as you both mentioned earlier, actually on the intro, are doing really low levels of PE. Why are we not investing in school sports? My little boy has 1 lesson a week of PE. He's 6.
So bad. Lots of schools are selling off their playing fields to housing developers and so on, building flats. And I remember, I say again, I remember at my school when I was at high school, maybe 15, 20 years ago, we did PE once a fortnight, and that hour lesson, half of it was spent getting changed.
Yeah.
15 minutes walking to the playing field, and then maybe 10 minutes of really low-grade rounders or something, or football.
Yeah. I mean, they do. One thing that came out of COVID that's quite good is that they do get changed at home and go into school with their PE kits. They do get more time doing PE. I get that, and I think it is quite helpful. But 1 lesson a week, it's probably, like you say, 30 minutes max, isn't it? Okay, schools need to be more involved, I think. There needs to be higher funding in schools to get PE more well-known and more exciting. PE and sport and movement does not just have to be about running around a racetrack.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of different ways that you can get fit. I mean, I went out on Saturday night to a mum day rave. Well, Saturday night, it was a daytime thing. And I did 20,000 steps dancing. Yeah. There are so many sort of events that you can do with your children that are not just getting fit. Because one of my kids, for example, hates PE. She hates it. But she loves dancing. So let's broaden the conversation and broaden the opportunity for children to be able to get involved in sport or activity or movement or whatever you want to say outside of the house.
It's also...
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Lucy, as well, I think that what I find so frustrating with schools as well is how optional sport is, especially for girls, especially when they sort of get kind of semi-pubescent. And so the teachers will say, oh, well, she doesn't want to go out for play hockey today. We're not going to let her. This idea that exercise is some sort of something unpleasant to be endured. Sure. We've got to make it fun.
Yeah, you're so right. And that was what I was just about to say. It's got to be appealing to everybody. Some people don't like jumping over hurdles in a field. I mean, I never did. And I used to get picked to do hurdles. I was like, God, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there are ways to get out of it these days, you're right. So why are we not making it more appealing and fun? I think the one good thing about this Joe Wicks thing is it is trying to be fun, it's trying to be appealing, it's trying to get those people involved. But why are we trying to encourage people to be indoors doing it? You know, you're not going to take your phone to a park and jump about to Joe Wicks, are you?
It just presumes you've got a front room big enough for your kids to jump around in, and a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. I know, I've got ironing all over. You can't see what I can see right now. There's piles of ironing in my room. There's no sport going to be done in here. Yeah, I mean, it's a big conversation, isn't it? It's a wider conversation, but I think generally sport is really flat in this country. I don't think that... I think we are quite a sedentary generation, or the children are. Obviously, kids are on phones. People are watching more and more laptops and iPads and all of that stuff. So there is a problem. I totally see that. And I have to really work hard to get my children out the door sometimes.
Yeah, and it is hard work.
Let's go and have some fun. Yeah.
And that's it. And parenting is hard work if done properly. Lucy, thank you so much. Lucy Baker there, blogger known as Geriatric Mum.
Thank you, Lucy. Somebody on your side, Bev, has said, when are you releasing the fitness DVD?
We won't be. DVD.
No, you
Old
said,
school.
not me.
DVD, though.
Right.
No, nobody wants to see that.
Moving on, I'm sure some people would like to see you do it. If you're in search of... Not me, definitely not. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's pretty unsettled across eastern parts of Europe as we go through this week. Frequent showers bring the risk of some intense thundery downpours. A different story further west there, across Madeira and the Canary Islands. It's dry here on Wednesday, also dry across parts of Portugal and Spain. Meanwhile, further east, Italy will see a few showers, but the showers more frequent, more intense towards the east. And like I said, that brings the risk of some heavy thundery downpours. Through the rest of the week, it's looking largely dry for most.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I think we've recovered from our little exercise session there.
Might have a chocky bar now to refuel.
Do you know
That's
what?
how it works, isn't it?
Do you know what, ladies and gentlemen? He's got a pan of chocolat under the desk here, and he's
I have
agonised.
not.
He's agonising about whether a man of his stature
Stop
should
slurring.
eat. Talking of men of stature, President Donald Trump has issued a stark ultimatum to Vladimir Putin: sign a peace deal to end the Ukraine war within 50 days or face crippling 100% tariffs on Russia's key trading partners, including China and India.
OK, let's talk to Professor of US Foreign Security Policy, David Dunn. Good morning. Thank you for your company. What's your take on this? Will these threats work? Will Putin end the war in 50 days? Professor Dunn?
Well, I think it's an important step in a different direction for Trump. Trump's been very tolerant of Putin, but he now feels that he's being played. And here we have a promise to send the top-of-the-range weapons to Ukraine, which is a significant step because Trump sent nothing so far. All the weapons they're getting are from the Biden administration up to this point. And the threat of these 100% tariffs or sanctions is significant. The fact that it's delayed by 50 days is not good news for Kyiv. They would have wanted it done quicker than this. Many people will say that Trump doesn't always follow through on these things. I mean, how many deadlines has he missed with regard to the wider tariff policy? But what it is a change of tone, a change of direction, and therefore it is a significant move by the Trump administration. In Moscow, these statements have been dismissed by various commentators, but I think this will cause them to reflect and possibly think about where this goes.
You're an expert on foreign policy, American foreign policy, David. Is this kind of unprecedented in history to use tariffs in this way as a bargaining chip in terms of conflict?
Yes, indeed. And in fact, actually, the bill in the Senate that's behind this talks about sanctions, another word for doing it. And actually, it's much more usual to use sanctions on these to actually stop them trading with you altogether. But Trump, as we know, for a whole variety of purposes, likes the idea of tariffs. He's imposed them on countries for a whole range of things, Mexico and fentanyl, on the rest of these things. So that's his approach.
Professor Dunn, thank you. Really appreciate your company this morning. Thanks very much. Stick with us. We're going to reveal how many migrants are claiming universal credit in Britain. What's your guess? Back in a tick.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There's a fresher feel to things out there at the moment, and there's some heavy rain and strong winds to watch out for too. We've already seen some pretty wet weather push across parts of Northern Ireland overnight. That rain is now feeding its way in across parts of Wales, much of England, and also southern Scotland. Now, the highest rainfall totals through today will be across parts of northwest England and also North Wales. We could see 40 to 60 millimetres in some places. Towards the far north of Scotland and also towards the south-southeast of England, staying largely fine. Some decent sunshine perhaps, and temperatures here peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s Celsius, but that is a fair bit fresher than it has been of late. Also need to factor in that there will be some strong winds around. We're talking gusts of around 40 to 50 miles per hour in some exposed coasts towards the southwest, and those strong winds will continue as we go through this evening. For many, it is going to be a blustery and rather unsettled evening. Hefty, showery bursts of rain for most, though the far north of Scotland clinging on to that fine weather. Some late sunshine to look forward to here. As we go overnight, we are going to see the weather system that's bringing the unsettled weather clearing away towards the east, and so things will be turning drier for most of us. Some clear skies developing, but a bit more cloud and a little bit of rain pushing into the far southwest of England across many parts of Cornwall and perhaps into Devon as well. It's not going to be a chilly night. Temperatures for most holding up well into the double figures. Not as warm or as humid though as the nights that we saw through the weekend and last week. Then as we go through Wednesday, a few showery bursts clinging on across some eastern parts. There may be a few more developing as we go through the day as well. But for many, it's actually looking like a relatively dry day. A good deal of fine sunny weather around for most. The exception being in the southwest, still Devon, Cornwall, perhaps into parts of Somerset and Dorset as well. More cloud here and some outbreaks of rain. Temperatures towards the east, though, a few degrees higher than today.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good morning to you. It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, 15th of July. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
Good morning, thanks for joining us. So, punished for British pride. A 12-year-old girl is put in isolation for wearing a Union Jack flag dress to her school's Culture Day. Shadow Secretary of State for Business Andrew Griffith gave his reaction this morning.
You know, if someone turns up in patriotic clothes to their school, they should get a gold star rather than be penalised.
And some breaking news this morning. Nearly 1.3 million migrants are claiming universal credit in Britain. Does that surprise you? More on that in just a tick.
The shocking state of our water. Thames Water sunk to a £1.6 billion loss last year as water companies look set to hit you with surging prices this summer and, of course, hosepipe bans.
Is this the end of Terode? An allegation that MasterChef presenter John Terode used racist language has been upheld by a report which was looking into the behaviour of his co-star, Greg Wallace. More chaos over at the Beeb.
Do you love the roar of a petrol or diesel engine? Find out about the government's financial incentive to push you towards electric cars.
He knows the deal. He knows what a fair deal is. If there is such a thing as a fair deal, there's no winners here. This is a loser.
Not a happy man. US President Donald Trump threatens Vladimir Putin, end the war with Ukraine within 50 days, or face 100% tariffs.
Hello, I'm Joe Wicks. Me and my activators are on a mission to get you moving. So are you ready? Activate!
That's an online animated version of fitness coach Joe Wicks. It's the government's bid to keep children fit over the summer holidays. Health Secretary Wes Streeting explains why the Labour government backed this idea.
And look, honestly, if it was government on our own trying to encourage children and young people to get active, I think we'd be the ones falling flat on our face.
I'm troubled by this Joe Wicks story.
Oh, it's just a few jumping jacks, isn't it?
No, because what they've done is, right, the government have sat down and gone, right, we need to get kids fit. How are we going to do it? And some idiot in the room has gone, you know what we need to do? Sit them in front of a screen. That's the solution.
But they will be moving. I remember doing lots of Joe Wicks classes on YouTube during COVID, especially when the gyms were closed. You are looking at a screen, yes, but you are moving. In my case, it was high-intensity exercise. You're still getting a workout in.
You're an adult, though, aren't you? Like, I think once a kid is sat in front of a screen, you're lucky to get them to stand up. I might be wrong. If let me know what you think. You've probably got grandchildren or children at home. Let me know what you think. GBNews.com/you'll say. And also, I just hate this idea that they're in the house. Get them out in the fresh air, kick them out. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, it was literally a case of, it's a sunny day, go out in the morning.
Till dawn.
Come home at tea time.
Yeah.
Take 20p in your pocket, just in case you needed to use a payphone. And kids were not rolling down the street like they are today.
Those were the days, weren't they?
Do you
remember when you couldn't find your friend? You couldn't just call them or WhatsApp them. You had to go knocking at their house. The mum would say, no, I think they're at the park. So you go down the park. Are they there? Nope. Or maybe they're down the beach. You know, you spend an hour or 2 hours looking for them. Eventually, you'd find them.
By which point, it was time to go and see. Right, GBNews.com/you'll say. Get in touch with us this morning. First, the very latest news with Sophia Hill.
Bev, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 11 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story today, MasterChef's John Turode has confirmed he's the subject of a racist language allegation upheld in a review into his co-host Greg Wallace's behaviour. Turode says he has no recollection of the 2018 or 2019 incident, but is shocked and saddened and insists he would never intend offence. The review upheld 45 allegations against Wallace, mostly involving inappropriate sexual language and behaviour, dating back to 2005. Wallace, who's now stepped down, says he was diagnosed with autism and regrets if his behaviour missed the mark. Banerjee and the BBC say Wallace's return to MasterChef is currently untenable. Thames Water has plunged into £1.6 billion loss, while its debt has ballooned to almost £17 billion. It comes as pollution incidents leapt 34%, and regulators have hit the firm with a record £122 million fine, with rising penalties. The crisis hit supplier, serving 16 million people, is still hunting for a rescue deal after investors ditched Lifeline. Executives face a grilling by MPs tomorrow over the bonuses and the threat of nationalisation as its finances continue to creak. Rachel Reeves will tonight unveil what the Treasury is calling the biggest shake-up of financial regulation in a decade. In her Mansion House speech, the Chancellor will promise sweeping reforms to boost home ownership and attract global investment. Key changes include more high loan-to-income mortgages, looser salary requirements and a permanent mortgage guarantee scheme. Up to 46,000 extra first-time buyers a year could benefit under the plans. Reeves said she's building a Britain that is better off, with financial services at the heart of growth. President Donald Trump says he's disappointed in Vladimir Putin, but insists he's not done with the Russian leader. In an interview, the US president claimed a Ukraine peace deal was close 4 times, only for Putin to launch fresh attacks, including one on a nursing home. When asked how he'd stop the bloodshed, Mr. Trump said, "We're working on it."
We're very, very unhappy with him, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days, tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means.
The comments came just hours after he imposed fresh sanctions on buyers of Russian exports. He's also pledged new weapons for Ukraine. Now, the cost of some new electric cars will drop by up to £3,750 as the government reintroduces grants to boost EV sales. Discounts will apply to models under £37,000, with car makers able to apply from Wednesday. The scheme will run for 3 years, but critics are warning a lack of public charging points still puts buyers off. The government's aiming for 300,000 chargers and a full petrol and diesel ban by 2030. And 2 men behind what's been described as the moronic mission to destroy the Sycamore Gap will be sentenced later on today. Daniel Graham and Adam Carruthers were found guilty of criminal damage to the 150-year-old landmark nearby to Hadrian's Wall. The tree's destruction caused outrage across the UK and beyond, having featured in the film Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Both men now face up to 10 years in jail and have since turned on each other whilst in court. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour. But first, let's check in with the markets.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.344 and 1.150 euros. The price of gold is £2,498.77 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,996 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Breaking news this morning, the Department of Work and Pensions have revealed that nearly 1.3 million migrants are claiming universal credit.
The latest government stats show there's been a near 50% increase since 2022, just 3 years.
Hang on a minute. 50% in 3 years increase in the number of migrants claiming universal credit. That's just astonishing. Just under 800,000 claims, that is.
And non-EU nationals with indefinite leave make up around 200,000 claims, followed by just 120,000 refugees.
We're just trying to get the information around this. These figures have but it is deeply embarrassing, not just for this government, frankly, but for the previous one as well. I'm going to be watching Twitter. There'll be some comments, no doubt, coming out from some of the politicians. I'm expecting Reform to jump on this quite quickly.
And this brings me back to the story we've been leading on all day. The 12-year-old girl who went to school in a Union flag dress was chastised for it, sent home. Her dad had to pick her up because she was accused of not facilitating
Culture Day.
Culture. And I said at the top of this show at 9:30, we are one of the most hospitable, welcoming, inclusive, whatever cliche word you want to use, countries going. And this just proves it. 1.2 million migrants claiming universal credit, including refugees, those with indefinite leave to remain. We are the most welcoming country going. We are generous, we are kind, and yet, in the case of that poor 12-year-old girl, we're treated like we're doing something wrong.
Talking of Reform, Nigel Farage has this very minute commented on that story of this young girl, Georgina Courtney, who was wearing this Union Jack dress. And Nigel has told GB News, our educational establishments hate this country, its symbols and its history. If you are a teacher, if you're a teacher, a teaching assistant, if you're married to a teacher, if you've got a daughter or a son who's a teacher, do you agree? The teachers in your life hate this country, its symbols and its history? I would say it's not necessarily that they hate them, and I understand what Nigel's saying there, but I think it's more that they're squeamish and they're embarrassed by Britishness because we don't have enough conversations about what that actually means.
Yeah, I don't think they inherently hate the country. I think it's a situation where they are trying to be good people. They're do-gooders, basically, and they think being a good person is doing exactly what they've done, shunning British culture, elevating other cultures over Britishness. They think they're doing a good thing. They think they're good people.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I don't think they are evil inherently. I just think they're doing a good thing when they're just totally deluded.
And for too long, as soon as you started to talk about wanting to celebrate Britishness or Englishness, or to say, I'm not sure if we're losing something here. Are we racist? You're just a racist. You're an Islamophobe. You're a racist. That has silenced this conversation for 20 years at least, probably 30 years now, that it has felt like to even utter such a sentiment about Britishness or Englishness across a dinner table would gather shock.
And look what happens when that's allowed to fester. Look at the rape gang scandal.
Yeah.
As one example, a major example.
Let's see what Courtney Wright's school, the spokesman for the Stowe Valley Trust, which runs her secondary school, said it offers its unreserved apologies to the family. The school told Warwickshire World news outlet, at Bilton School, we are proud of the diversity of our students and the rich heritage they bring to our community. We are committed to fostering an environment where every pupil feels respected, valued and included. And I think the key there is every pupil should feel respected, valued and included.
Yeah, lots of you at home, the viewers, shocked at this story this morning, but let me say, it's not in isolation. I remember some months ago during Easter, there was the primary school in Hampshire, can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, they cancelled Easter bonnet parade celebrations because they said it would be culturally insensitive to other faiths and religions. So you can celebrate... and that's it. They had celebrations for Jewish holidays, for Sikh holidays, Muslim, Islam holidays, whatever else. But when it came to Christianity and celebrating Easter, they said, "Oh no, sorry, we can't mention that." Just absurd. So I don't believe this is in isolation. I think this happens all across the country, and it's only one or two examples we hear about.
You just reminded me, actually, Ben, of a story of a mum I bumped into the other day in the supermarket, and she was telling me that they had, in fact, it was last summer, gosh, where's that year gone? Because they were having a summer fete, and she said she was going to do a stand which had English flags and Union Jacks and...
Sounds racist.
Victoria sponge cakes, and... She was told by the PTA at the school it was a little bit culturally insensitive. And so she couldn't do it.
That's what I love about America, actually. You go to America and you see their flag paraded everywhere with pride, even from the Democrats, the leftists, you know. Maybe, I guess it's changing slightly in recent years. You do see some twisted leftists pulling American flags down. I think that's the far-left militants. But they love their country. They stand for the national anthem. They parade the stars and the Stars and Stripes. They love their nation.
They have a constitution. They have the concept of the American dream of social mobility, of anyone being able to be what they want to be. We don't have that sort of clear delineation of who we are as a country, and I think we need to do a lot to foster that. I think this channel does a huge amount, actually, to engage people in that particular conversation. The very fact that we are called GB News, and this is Britain's newsroom, is powerful. We're not afraid of it. We're not ashamed of it. We love our country, and we think everybody should.
Indeed. Well said. Hear, hear, Beth. Right, moving on. The crisis at Thames Water has deepened significantly this morning as their debt burden soars by another £1.6 billion.
While it's still trying to avoid full nationalisation, the company has admitted this morning that some form of temporary nationalisation might be necessary as it scrambles to restructure its finances.
And this morning, bosses from the company are facing a parliamentary select committee where they say they'll need yet another restructuring and admit they are in crisis mode.
Ever since I arrived, this company has been in crisis. We have been living in crisis mode ever since. But we are trying to refinance this company and preserve it from special administration, which would be very bad for everybody.
Part of what we have to do to turn the company around and transform it is to restructure the balance sheet and reduce the gearing and the level of debt that is carried by the company. We've had one restructuring plan, which is overseen by the courts, and we will need to have another restructuring plan overseen by the courts to restructure the balance sheet.
Fascinating. Well, let's talk to economic commentator and statistician Jamie Jenkins, formerly of the Office of National Statistics. Jamie, great to see you. Very good morning. How can you explain this mess from a numerical point of view that Thames Water has got itself into this terrible situation that we are all going to pay the price?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So basically, this is just decades and decades now of taking money out of a company, going to some of these like parent companies, which are generally Thames Water now for many years has been owned kind of by offshore companies. They've been kind of taking money out of the company, saddling the company with more and more debt. So the net debt's risen to about £17 billion or it's a staggering amount of money for one company. And then what that means is then, a bit like where the government has to pay interest on the national debt that we've got, Thames Water's got that debt that it has to pay like hundreds of millions in interest to serve the debt. So when customers are paying their bills, a big portion of those money going to Thames Water goes to pay for the debt interest of what's been built up on many, many, many years. And they talk about nationalisation to try and perhaps fix this problem. What that's going to do is riddle this taxpayer with even more debt. So it's a scandalous story the way Thames Water's been run. And ultimately, you start questioning, should we have had the kind of privatisation of water companies many, many years ago? Because this is the kind of the consequences of what's happened.
Yeah. Jamie, I'm a capitalist. I support capitalism, but this isn't a good advert for capitalism, is it?
No, I think obviously I'm a capitalist as well, but certain things are kind of necessities. So you need water, you need energy. And it seems to be we're getting ever-increasing energy costs with the kind of race to this madness of net zero that the government have got. We've got a massive increase in water bills as well. And Thames Water are releasing these figures just the day after they've put hosepipe bans into the country as well. Now, the last time I looked, water does keep coming out from the sky. It's free water for them. All they need to do is get that water. It's no different. The water cycle's been there for centuries. All they need to do is get that water, treat it, get it into people's homes. But we've had a lack of investment in the water supply. The southeast of England, where Thames Water generally covers, that's covered, huge population growth over the last 30 years, no new reservoirs. So we're in this mess because of failure of the company and the government to hold them to account.
And to forward plan, Jamie, it seems. When they talk about this morning with this APPG group, this committee that they're giving evidence to, and they're saying we need a temporary nationalisation, a restructuring, are they just coming to the government and saying, can you give us a load of cash to temporarily bail us out and then we'll go back to taking our massive dividends and our salaries, please, in a 12 months' time?
It pretty much is going to end up like that. Look what happened with banks in 2008, huge amount of taxpayers' money to bail out failure of the banks then. And this is pretty much what we've got here with Thames Water. Maybe nationalisation is the only solution to solve this, because they talk about getting the debt burden down. But, £17 billion, that's decades of building that debt up. You're talking decades and decades to get rid of the debt. And what does that mean if you really want to get it? Either the taxpayers are going to have to start paying off some of that debt, or customers. But ultimately, the consumer is going to pay for this huge failure. And as I say, water is a necessity good. Customers should not be being ripped off the way these companies have done to the UK over the last kind of 10, 20, 30 years.
OK, Jamie, thank you so much. Great to see you. Jamie Jenkins there.
Thanks, Jamie.
You are all incensed at home about the idea that this private company, which has been given this phenomenal opportunity to provide something that we all need, whilst also making a profit and paying themselves handsomely, is now coming to the government with this handout to say, we need the taxpayers' money? Yeah, and Jamie mentioned there a point which isn't talked about a lot, which is the migration explosion. We just don't have the infrastructure. Yes, they should have built the infrastructure and built more reservoirs, but it's very infrequently talked about the fact that the pressure migration is putting on this country, not least on utilities and services. Right, talking about pressure, you can take the pressure off yourself with £54,321 in your bank account. Here's how to get it.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, up next, we'll tell you about the legal action former Olympic swimmer and friend of the show, Sharon Davies, is planning to keep women safe in sport, keep trans women out of sport, biological men. I argue they're just cheats. She's in Parliament today with Rosie Duffield making the case for that. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom, 11:24. Ben and Bev with you this morning, and we're also joined by Judita De Silva and Annunziata Rees-Mogg. Welcome along, ladies. Should we talk about... what do you want to talk about? You tell me.
I don't know. I'm a bit worried about Trump and what he's doing on oil imports.
Go on.
The whole world benefits from low-cost trade.
Yeah.
And that's not whether you're pro-American or pro-British, but tax-free trade benefits every single country.
Mm.
And Donald Trump has said he's going to put up to 100% import tax on oil, countries that import oil.
Why is he doing
from Russia? Because he
wants to end the war.
It's one of the ways you can do it. I don't think it should be put as a trade thing. It should be put as a sanctions thing. It's clearly a diplomatic move, but it leaves a very open question as to what happens to the EU. That it's still 18% of EU energy is supplied by Russia.
Mm.
See, this is because with the same zeal that people attack Starmer for doing U-turns, what you're seeing is how U-turns are par for the course when you're in contentious power, and that's what's happening with Trump now, because this is a spectacular U-turn. He first said, I could do a peace deal within a day. When it comes to Russia, Ukraine, he has not done that. He used a tactic of almost ingratiating himself to Putin by basically steamrolling Zelensky, realizing that didn't work, because at the end of the day, Putin is not driven by ego. You can't flatter him into being amenable. This is an old-school Soviet KGB man. He's a tactician. So when you've got a case where time after time again, you've given him periods to act in a direction you like. He has not. He's basically giving you the quote-unquote middle finger. Why is he going to do anything different? And all you have to look at is look at the stock market. It's actually dipped because Russia was expecting him to be more severe. And then it spiked after this meeting with Rutte because we're like, oh, you haven't been as severe as we were expecting. Putin is not going to move in the direction you want. He wants more of Ukraine. You know you can't concede that. And ironically, for all the negativity he said towards NATO, you need NATO now for your Patriot missiles and batteries to be bought by NATO and sent to Ukraine.
I don't think Putin wants Ukraine. I think Putin is doing the absolutely standard Russian leader thing of, if you're not the strongest man, you don't hold that country together. It's so diverse, so impossible to run as one country that unless you are a very, very punchy man, always men, I'm afraid, you can't hold it as one thing. And you've got to attack someone else to show that you are the stronger man. And I hope Trump has all sorts of problems, and I don't like his attitude to trade. But on this, he's probably right that he has got to be the stronger man and putting punishments on Russia that will have an effect. But I think the question to us in the UK is what will that do to our neighbours and our trading partners? We only get 4% of our energy from Russia. It's one of the lowest in the world, so it's unlikely we will be hit.
But I think that
when it's a fifth of the EU's,
I think the
they could well be in trouble.
The Ukraine thing is different because the Ukraine is strategic, because everyone knows Putin has an issue with NATO and the existence of NATO. It is the first move. That's why Britain and every country feels the same way, that if Ukraine falls, he doesn't stop there. So it is I do think so, because like I said, it goes back to who is Putin? He's a Soviet KGB man. He believes that's, like, I do agree with you that the ultimate Russia is the Russia he believes should exist to this day. And part of that is dismantling your strategic opponents, and they exist mainly within the EU bloc.
Well, I want to move on to this other story, ladies, because I want to hear your opinions on this as well. This is about Sharon Davies today telling Parliament, isn't it? I think she's in talking to MPs today about the fact that sports such as tennis and weightlifting could end up in court if they don't ban transgender women from playing. Good news?
It's the motivation, again, I get it. The approach being so contentious is just going to create problems, because the ultimate foundation of all of this is that you have people who love sport, trans people who want to be included. The way they're going about it, I agree. Fundamentally, if you are biologically male, the blueprint of your physiology is male. Even if now you're reducing your testosterone to within the bracket of women, your blueprint, your physicality was built as male. So you can never be actually truly equal. But you do need to get to a point like what they have with the Paralympics. You create categorization.
That's
that
only
takes into
at the
account your
elite
physiology.
level. This goes right the way back to schools. And you have got 12-year-old girls who are tiny up against 12-year-old boys who've already hit puberty. And that happens. And that's a serious problem. I'm less worried about weightlifting because it's on your own. But when it comes to contact sports, that's a really serious...
Even weightlifting, I'm sorry, I know you're not directly in contact.
No, the boys will win, and I'm worried about that.
Cheating. They're still depriving women of success and championships and...
Where I agree with Sharon Davies is that the people in charge are kind of kicking the ball to women to become the enemy because they're speaking up. That's the problem. The whole point is it's right in front of you. You just don't want to do the hard work of creating new categorization that is more inclusive of gender neutrality. So then you have a whole new section where those who want to compete can be categorized in a way that takes into account their physiology.
So when you say the Paralympics, you mean like a trans Olympics? Literally have
Not a trans Olympics, like it's something like a gender neutral Olympics, so people have the option where that is where I feel I fit in.
Or you just have 3 categories, and I'd be fine with that. I think Sharon Davies is an absolute heroine. She has put her head above the parapet on behalf of all women so much. She has been shot at so much, and she has stood her ground because she understands what is actually going on. That there is no one that has more experience of sport.
And because the medals, the gold medal in her event was stolen by somebody that was juiced, like a German athlete who was doping.
Cheater.
An East German who was cheating. So she understands losing out on that moment because somebody was not on the level.
See, but what distresses me is that, like, the way you just articulated a description of Sharon Davies, that shouldn't even exist, where the landscape has been created where now, because she's speaking to things that are fundamentally factual, she's now somehow a crusader. But then at the same time, on the other side, trans people are made to feel like you're now the enemy. The people who could solve this are those in power. Yeah, but the people who have the responsibility to fix this are not doing it.
2-3 months ago to work out, legally speaking, what the definition of a woman was. This is ridiculous that our country ever got there, and that has caused the problem, not the women fighting to be women.
It was always going to get there because trans people exist. Period. And you cannot continue to drive society in a direction that is exclusionary. To be biologically female is irrefutable. Being a woman is something that's socially structured, which you can become more elastic with just to make people feel they're included. That does not dispute that. I am biologically female. I am not the same as a trans woman. But what it is to be a woman socially is something that you can accommodate to be more elastic with.
But surely that is a stereotype that women have been trying to get away from for generations now, whereby, you want to, be curvy, you want to have pretty hair and makeup, you want to wear pretty dresses, you don't want to climb trees and get muddy, you do want to play with Barbies. That's a stereotype women have fought against, and yet now it's becoming...
No, but it's a righteous crusade that they have been fighting against it because you have a right to define the kind of woman you want to be. And trans women are saying the same thing. I'm just a different kind of woman. I'm not biologically female, but I'm a different kind of woman.
Just before we finish, if trans women are women, why put trans in front of it?
No, because that's the categorization. For instance, like
you just said trans women are women.
No, I said that you're a different kind of woman. Because even doctors will say that, when you're dealing with medical things...
There's only one type of woman, isn't there? It's just a woman.
No, there isn't, because biologically...
A female.
Biologically female, that is one thing. But
Is there anything?
No. A black woman is different from an Asian woman, is different from a white woman, is different from a Chinese woman.
If you mummify their bodies and look at them 2,000 years in the future, you're going to say...
You will see that they are biologically female. That's why I'm saying that it's two different things, that you have to just be socially accommodating, that woman can be more elastic, biologically female.
We're all happy to be socially inclusive, but demeaning women in order to get there is different.
Oh, let's pick this up again another day, ladies. 2 fantastic women, of course, there. And let's go to another one. Sophia Hill with your news.
Very good morning. The headlines just after 11:30. New figures from the Department for Work and Pensions reveal that nearly 1.3 million migrants are now claiming universal credit. That's a near 50% rise in claims since 2022, with EU nationals making up the majority at just under 800,000. The BBC is facing a storm of controversy, with MasterChef presenter John Turode now part of an inquiry over allegations of racist language. Turode denied the claims, stating, "I do not believe that it happened." Meanwhile, Ofcom has announced an investigation into the BBC's controversial Gaza documentary, accusing it of breaching accuracy guidelines. President Donald Trump has warned Russia of severe tariffs if it doesn't end the war in Ukraine, following a major weapons deal with NATO. 2 men will be sentenced today for felling the iconic Sycamore Gap tree, causing over £600,000 of damage. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Up next, find out how author J.K. Rowling may have had the last laugh when it comes to the original cast of Harry Potter. This is Breen.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's very different out there today compared with many days so far this summer. Cool and cloudy for all of us, breezy as well, with spells of rain moving west to east, and that's because low pressure rather than high pressure is now in charge. Tightly packed isobars on the southern flank for that low will make for a breezy day for England and Wales. A lot of cloud and this persistent band of rain moving into Wales, parts of western England, southern Scotland. Surrounding that, some heavy showers, even some thunderstorms into Northern Ireland, central and southwest Scotland, North Wales as well. But towards the far southeast and the far north, it's going to be mostly dry with some sunny spells, highs of 22 or 23 degrees. However, feeling markedly cooler compared with recent July weather. The far north of Scotland, though, a pleasant end to the day with sunny spells as we go into the evening. For the rest of Scotland, we've got these areas of rain, showers and perhaps some thunderstorms across southern Scotland, pushing into northern England, North Wales and moving through Northern Ireland as well. Also a lot of cloud for South Wales, southern England and these showery outbreaks of rain as we end the day. But the whole system is moving west to east, so the showers and the thunderstorms and the heavy rain tends to ease overnight, although some showers will keep going, particularly across parts of the Midlands, Northern England and southern Scotland. Another area of rain starts to appear into the southwest by the end of the night, mild here, a cooler night to come elsewhere. Then a bright start to Wednesday for many places. Still some showers across parts of northern England into the Midlands, the east coast. But for the north of Scotland, Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, the Midlands and the southeast, some decent sunny spells as we go into the afternoon. However, towards the southwest, the cloud thickens, some rain moves in. It's going to feel more warm and humid compared with today.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Up at noon, good afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. Hello.
Do you know where your taxes are going, Ben?
Migrants.
Yeah, 1.3 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit in Britain.
Great.
Social contract over? Or is that fair dues?
Now, when we say foreign nationals, it's important to note that these are people, it's not entirely every single migrant who's come to Britain, because it doesn't include migrants who have gained citizenship. So it is the subset of migrants who have not yet got citizenship, and 1.3 million of them are claiming benefits.
So basically the problem's bigger than these statistics suggest.
And it's ballooned in the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's ballooned in the last 4 years.
An increase since 2022, if our figures were right.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's absolutely astonishing. I don't know what justification there can be for this. If you come to this country, you need to be able to support yourself. You can't be relying on the British taxpayer to then subsidise your wages to such an extent. And most of these people are actually unemployed as well. So coming to this country, not having a job, benefiting from the benefits, I can't imagine, popping over to a country and then immediately claiming work
And
benefits.
I also can't imagine what it must be like to be a pensioner watching this and knowing that you've paid into the system your entire life, expecting to get something back, or at least for your children, your grandchildren, and then to know how much of that money is sloshing in.
And it's a problem across the board. So 7.9 million people are claiming universal credit June 2025. OK. Just 1 year ago, it was 6.8. So that's an increase of over 1 million in just 1 year, since Labour got in, essentially.
And don't you dare send your child to school in a Union Jack dress at the same time.
Well, quite.
You know?
Then you're in real trouble.
Isn't that
you're in real trouble.
extraordinary, reading what that day was advertised as by the school, saying, come in and celebrate your own culture. And a white English girl dares to celebrate her own culture and is shown the door.
I mean, is it a surprise that people feel like they're losing their country?
Did you have a nice, relaxing holiday? I can see.
I did, but there was a lot of stressful news to contend with.
Right, well, it's lovely to have you both back. That will all be happening from midday today. But moving on now, over the past 5 years, a single NHS trust has spent £3.6 million treating genetic conditions in children born to related parents.
In response to Freedom of Information requests, University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust confirmed it treated 1,559 patients between January 2020 and June this year.
So let's talk to the journalist behind this shocking research, Lewis Brackpool. Lewis, great to see you. You're doing some remarkable work. Just tell our viewers, you submit freedom of information requests to organisations in order to shine a light on serious issues that the public are largely unaware of. Why this issue of genetically related parents and children?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on, guys. It's good to see you, and I'm sorry that it's such a depressing subject that we're talking about. Yes, so I was contacted by a member of my audience asking to shine a light on this particular subject, and it's not something that I really wanted to obviously go into, of course. So after a back and forth, we decided to target specific NHS trusts in Birmingham, Bradford and Luton because these areas are well documented in academic and clinical studies as having rates of cousin marriage, in particular within certain communities. So this wasn't a random sample, it was strategic and informed by demographic evidence. I asked the trusts about numbers of individuals receiving NHS care, like I said, between January 2020 to the present, who have been diagnosed with severe genetic disorders attributed to consanguinity, for example, parental cousin marriage. And like you said, what they revealed, particularly the University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust, said, 1,559 patients treated with a diagnosis of family history of consanguinity. Total cost 3.6 million, but that cost includes inpatient admissions, outpatient services, day cases, regular attenders, and the data was pulled from their cost master system. The Bradford Teaching Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust actually said that they could not isolate consanguinity-linked disorders through coding, which is bizarre. No internal audits, no assessments, no cost data to the subject, and referred to external studies such as the Born in Bradford and GBNews Health papers that they've been working on. But they have acknowledged that they've never conducted internal analysis into this. So really, what is the national picture when we come to this subject? If one trust in Birmingham spent £3.6 million on under 1,600 patients, what could the national figure be? That's the big question.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lewis, but just to be clear, we're talking about this is largely the consequence of marriage of first cousins.
Correct.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is still legal in this country, but it has been debated in Parliament this year as to whether it should be banned. It wasn't an issue that this country ever particularly had a problem with. It wasn't an issue about whether we should ban it. But, of course, we have imported and welcomed so many people from cultures in which first cousin marriage is normal. And what you're saying is that you have found figures showing that maybe there is an argument to ban it because it's costing us a blimmin' fortune.
Absolutely. And, you know, socially, it's just not... It's not compatible, in my view. You know, people like to throw in the argument, well, what about the aristocratic elite? What about the royals that have, you know, gone through this line of using this and use that argument? But we all socially in this country acknowledge that it is wrong. And so to import this sort of problem is just, is an extra strain, and it's something you have to think about the children as well. This is affecting children, and so I don't really understand why there are people, not necessarily within Parliament but outside of Parliament, that are pro this. It just doesn't make sense for me. I believe we should ban
I'm just looking at a YouGov survey here quite recently, and that cousin marriage is more common, as we know, among South Asian minority communities in the UK. But a recent Born in Bradford study found that 46% of mothers in the Pakistani community were married to first or second cousin. That was in 3 inner-city Bradford wards. This is on the gov.uk website. And born out of the results, 39% of British Pakistanis and Bangladeshis say cousin marriage should be legal. This is a hot topic, Lewis Brackpool, that luckily you have shone a huge light under. What would you want your research to achieve?
Well, I do think that it should be banned because we have to think about the children that it's affecting, and that's the main thing that we should be focusing on. It's staggering that you mentioned that particular statistic from that Born in Bradford project that the NHS actually externally pushed me towards, and then had the gall to say, yeah, no, keep it legal. No, we should keep doing it. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned. I just think that that's awful. Personally.
Well, there's a lot of votes in it, Lewis. There's a lot of votes in it if you want people to vote.
As we've seen by that breaking poll last night, Lewis, Find Out Now poll showing Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's new party polling at 15%, splitting the Labour vote, Reform top of 34. So I would imagine all those people voting for Corbyn's new party there would be in favour of first cousin marriage, or at least most of them.
Right, you can find more of Lewis's work online. Look for Lewis Brackpool, like Blackpool but with an R. Lewis, thank you so much for joining us. Some breaking news just now.
The Environment Agency have just declared a drought in the West and East Midlands. I guess another hosepipe ban on the horizon.
Give me strength. Makes you want to go on holiday, doesn't it? Well, here are some forecasts.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's pretty unsettled across eastern parts of Europe as we go through this week. Frequent showers bring the risk of some intense thundery downpours. A different story further west though, across Madeira and the Canary Islands. It's dry here on Wednesday, also dry across parts of Portugal and Spain. Meanwhile, further east, Italy will see a few showers, but the showers more frequent, more intense towards the east. And like I said, that brings the risk of some heavy thundery downpours. Through the rest of the week, it's looking largely dry for most.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Davies, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You go.
I was waiting for you, ladies, first.
No, you're only doing one show today, not two. You're part-timer.
Thank goodness. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Ben and Bev with you. And it's 14 years after the finale of the Harry Potter film series. Are you a Potter fan?
No.
OK, good. A new TV adaptation is on the horizon thanks to American TV network HBO.
So Scottish actor and 11-year-old Dominic McLaughlin will take on the role of Harry Potter.
It looks cool. Cute, that. And the programme will be filmed at Warner Brothers Studios in Hertfordshire. So will a whole new generation forget about the original actors, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, who some would argue have been a little bit treacherous when it comes to the likes of J.K. Rowling?
That's the understatement of the year, Ben Leo. Well, let's find out from Alex Davies, our GB News entertainment editor. This has surely got to be one of the motivating factors for J.K. Rowling.
Treachery.
Revenge is a dish best served.
Well, yes, I remember when this was first sort of billed, there was a lot of talk about, you know, whether HBO would take the chance and have J.K. Rowling involved. Obviously, we know her history and her outspoken views on things like trans rights. And HBO stood firm. They said, yes, she is fully involved. She's the one, she has almost full creative control on it. She was obviously working closely with HBO. Right. There was 30,000 young auditionees who went for this role to take over from Daniel Radcliffe.
30,000.
30,000. And they sifted through all of the audition tapes. There's a young Daniel Radcliffe there. He's only 11 years old. Daniel Radcliffe was only 11 years old as well. So it is really sort of, I don't want to say verbatim, because there's been quite a few changes to the cast compared to what it was for the film franchise, particularly with Snape and Hermione, for example. Hermione is now played by a mixed-race girl called Arabella Stanton.
Interesting.
Who is fantastic, though. She was Matilda in the Matilda West End adaptation. Very confident young girl and, a long career ahead of them. I mean, this alone is going to take them through the next 10 years of their careers. The young lad there, Dominic McLaughlin, I don't know whether it's just because I've grown up with Harry Potter. To me, it looks more like a kid on World Book Day at school. But we shall see how they get on.
Good luck to him.
I hope he's not watching. You've just crushed his dreams before he began, Alex. I'm sure it'll be amazing, and I'm sure he will do a brilliant job. Right,
Thanks,
Ben and I will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30. See you then.
Yes, we're back. Do you sometimes worry how your taxes, your hard-earned taxes, are being spent? Well, it's just been revealed today that you're currently paying for 1.3 million non-British people to receive universal credit. How can that be? Up 50% in just 3 years.
And why is one Reform Council leader suggesting the government should be more relaxed when it comes to giving visas to social care workers? We'll have all of those curious details after your weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. There's a fresher feel to things out there at the moment, and there's some heavy rain and strong winds to watch out for too. We've already seen some pretty wet weather push across parts of Northern Ireland overnight. That rain is now feeding its way in across parts of Wales, much of England, and also southern Scotland. Now, the highest rainfall totals through today will be across parts of northwest England and also North Wales. We could see 40 to 60 millimetres in some places. Towards the far north of Scotland and also towards the south-southeast of England, staying largely fine. Some decent sunshine perhaps, and temperatures here peaking in the low, possibly mid-20s Celsius, but that is a fair bit fresher than it has been of late. Also need to factor in that there will be some strong winds around. We're talking gusts of around 40 to 50 miles per hour in some exposed coasts towards the southwest, and those strong winds will continue as we go through this evening. For many, it is going to be a blustery and rather unsettled evening. Hefty, showery bursts of rain for most, though the far north of Scotland clinging on to that fine weather. Some late sunshine to look forward to here. As we go overnight, we are going to see the weather system that's bringing the unsettled weather clearing away towards the east, and so things will be turning drier for most of us. Some clear skies developing, but a bit more cloud and a little bit of rain pushing into the far southwest of England across many parts of Cornwall and perhaps into Devon as well. It's not going to be a chilly night. Temperatures for most holding up well into the double figures. Not as warm or as humid though as the nights that we saw through the weekend and last week. Then as we go through Wednesday, a few showery bursts clinging on across some eastern parts. There may be a few more developing as we go through the day as well, but for many it's actually looking like a relatively dry day. A good deal of fine sunny weather around for most, the exception being in the southwest, still Devon, Cornwall, perhaps into parts of Somerset and Dorset as well. More cloud here and some outbreaks of rain. Temperatures towards the east though a few degrees higher than today.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
No, I was really
completely. Oh, hello.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry